What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Football today on Thursday, July 25th. I've got a challenge. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to get through 8 segments in 50 minutes, 50 minutes. What do you think, Dave? Can we do it? 8? I'm calling this show 8 segments of fantasy fun. Can we do it?
Is this one of the segments?
No.
Then we're screwed.
Well, hello to Dave. Hello to Jamie. Good morning.
Did you watch Hard Knocks yet?
I did. Oh, it was really good. I texted you about it. You know I watched Hard Knocks.
Oh, that's right.
It was really good, and I have a note in here about what Nick Saban said about 2 rookies when he was asked who the toughest ones that he faced were. I thought that was very interesting, very revealing.
Did you enjoy that they were higher on Neighbors than Harrison?
Their wide receivers coach seemed like organizationally the Giants were higher on Neighbors, not everyone, higher on Neighbors than Harrison. I would say that as much as I love Malik Neighbors, the Giants love him 5 times more, right? I mean, they are convinced, it seems.
They kind of have to.
That
was before the draft.
You're not really speaking into your microphone today, Mr. Eisenberg.
That was before the draft.
Yeah, it was before the draft. Yeah, they loved him. They were thrilled to get him. And you could see the process of they gave you every scenario basically of, okay, we're going to stay here at 6 if these guys are on the board. If they're off the board, here's what we're going to do. Here's some other teams that might trade up. Here's what they're going to do. It was really cool. Anyway, 8
we
segments.
We have 50 minutes to do 8 segments,
Adam. And then the Falcons took Penix.
Right, exactly. Okay, I just want to say we had an email about big plays. I know some of you out there, you play in leagues that award or reward big plays with fantasy points. So I just want to tell you my big play stat. This is a wide receiver stat. There were 26 running backs, wide receivers, or tight ends with 7 or more plays that gained 30 or more yards. Of the 26, 21 were wide receivers, 3 were running backs, and 2 were tight ends. And if you make that 8 or more plays that gain 30 or more yards instead of 7, you don't have a single running back there. Barkley, McCaffrey, and Breece Hall had 7 plays that gained 30 or more yards. That was the most. But wide receivers, and I looked at last year's, I looked at 2022 as well. If you play in leagues that give you points for big plays, again, I don't know what that is in your league, but I did 30 or more yards. That is a wide receiver dominated stat. So just letting you know. Segment number 1, here we go. We've basically got 1 day of training camp, maybe 2 for a lot of teams here, and we've already got this guy's standing out. So training camp superstars is segment number 1. Training camp superstars. Just tell me, like, what's really interesting you right now? Because there were a few players that made a lot of headlines. Yesterday, Deontay Johnson. Another Rashad Bateman report. This time it was a Baltimore reporter, Jonas Schaefer, saying Rashad Bateman has probably been the team's top wide receiver through the first 4 practices. Dalton Kincaid, I mean, I read one summary of Bill's practice that was like, everyone's been great. But Dalton Kincaid apparently has been the leader of the pack. And Jamison Williams, according to Nick Baumgardner of The Athletic, Jamison Williams looks like a different player in training camp. So, Jamie, I don't know if you have other training camp superstars you want to talk about, but Deontay Johnson, Rashad Bateman, Kincaid, Jamison Williams, they were on my list. What do you think?
I mean, Javonte Williams certainly had a good day. So
yes,
he's in the news and notes, but yeah, that's more of like a role thing and a weight thing. Sure. Javonte Williams, put him in there. Training camp.
Okay, so you just want players that did something?
According to the people who were.
What's the difference between Javonte Williams and Rashad Bateman?
That Rashad Bateman has, according to one reporter, been the best wide receiver through 4 days of camp. Javonte Williams has lost weight and appears to be the lead back, which is not a small deal, but just he was part of a different segment.
Okay, I didn't know what you're getting at, like somebody that benefited from whatever happened yesterday. No, I mean, you hit on a bunch of them.
Do you care about them, or is it just fun?
Anytime these things happen, anytime, it's confirmation bias for whatever you think of the player. So Kendre Miller got a terrible, terrible, terrible quote yesterday from his head coach after getting hurt. And if you are an Alvin Kamara fan, or if you are a Jamal Williams guy for whatever reason, or you were hoping for Kendre Miller, then this was not a good day for the Kendre Miller people. This was a very good day for Alvin Kamara people. And probably a little bit of a boost for Taysom Hill and Jamal Williams. So I think if you're just in whatever side you're on these arguments, these things that are going to happen. So if you were a Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime guy, yeah, you had a bad day yesterday. If you were like Heath, you're a big Javonte Williams guy, then you were really thrilled. So I think anybody that likes Dalton Kincaid, you hear these things, you get excited. Anybody that likes Deontay Johnson, the only thing that this hurts, honestly, is the cost gets more expensive. So whenever these things happen, they get bumped up, or in some cases bumped down. But yeah, I don't think you should go crazy for it.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is, are we going to keep hearing it? Like the Rashad Bateman stuff, it's starting to get a little interesting just because it's been nonstop from the coaches. And now here's a reporter saying that he looks good. And 2 weeks from now, is it going to be just like more glowing reports? I'm really more interested in the reports than I am the coaches.
You weren't on the show yesterday, Dave. So happy birthday, Dave. Oh, he left the stream. Unbelievable. Yesterday was Dave's birthday, so happy birthday, Dave. Great colleague.
Happy birthday.
Better person. Yeah, the Bateman stuff. The Bateman stuff is getting pretty interesting. All right, we'll keep an eye on it. That's segment number 1. I do actually have a gift for all of you. Dave, you want to come back on? I have a gift from one of our listeners. Come on, Dave. Come back here. Well, Jamie, this one, you'll probably like it even more than Dave. One of our listeners made us a little alternate intro. Okay. Now some combination of Adam, Dave, Jamie, and Heath. Here's what a guy named Daniel created for us.
Now, here's some combination of Adam, Dave, Jamie,
Dan,
and Heath.
I thought you'd like that.
Again.
Now, here's some combination of Adam, Dave, Jamie,
Dan,
and Heath.
It's really funny.
Is that Dan?
That's it.
That's Dan saying Dan.
Yeah.
That's it. That's lifted from the episode. Yeah.
Nice.
All
That's
right.
a good birthday gift.
Next segment is called 2-round discount. I'm going to give you players that are going about 2 rounds later in ADP than the other player we're going to be talking about. And you tell me, what are the chances that this player is better than the guy that's going 2 rounds ahead of him? Obviously, this doesn't mean you can't draft both of them, but just fun segment here. 2-round discount. What are the chances that Devon Achane is better than Breece Hall?
Without injury?
Yeah. Everything is 17 games, no injury.
Well, I mean, like Raheem Mostert injury.
Yeah, everything is depth charts don't change, basically. No injuries, whatever. Just what are the chances that Devon Achane is better than Breece Hall?
Slim.
I agree, but would it surprise you if they're like off by 1 point per game?
Not without a Raheem Mostert injury.
Yeah. This one's the toughest one to sell. All right, what are the chances that Zamir White is better than Josh Jacobs?
Oh, that could happen. And I'm the Jacobs guy. That could happen.
More touchdowns, less competition for work.
Yep.
Both guys don't work in the passing game.
Yeah. Would you take Jacobs in the 3rd or White in the 5th?
Neither at that cost.
I'd be more inclined. I like them both at that cost. Probably Jacobs a little bit more than White. The talk on Marshawn Lloyd so far, by the way, speaking of like quotes from camp, is that they like him as like a passing downs back.
Yeah.
Out of the backfield. And it's something he never really did in college. He flashed it a little bit at the Senior Bowl. Maybe the Packers have unearthed something with him in that role.
I thought he was really good catching passes because he didn't do it that much, but he did it downfield. There were some plays where he's like streaking up the sideline catching passes. He showed some actual Marshawn Lloyd. We're talking about some ability to not just be a dump off kind of guy. Next up, what are the chances that either David Montgomery or James Conner is better than Ken Walker? David Montgomery or James Conner better than Ken Walker?
Either one of them, the chances are pretty good.
Who's got a better chance? What do you think, Montgomery or
Conner? I think has a better chance than Walker.
Than Montgomery to be better than Walker.
Yeah. Conner, yes.
Yeah, if Conner stays healthy, he should be really good. But you're asking a guy at his age to stay healthy that hasn't stayed healthy.
Okay. Do you want to take Ken Walker as your RB2, or would you rather wait a couple rounds and dip into the Montgomery Conner pool?
I'd rather take Walker.
I'd take Conner. I think there's a good discount there.
All right, 2-round discount at quarterback. What are the chances that Joe Burrow is better than Josh Allen?
Likely.
Wow, likely.
Yeah, I mean, if the rushing touchdowns get cut in half, which is where he's been, and the passing craters, and Burrow's 2021.
But that's likely to happen. Isaiah likely to happen?
Sing happy birthday again so he leaves.
Maybe.
It's possible.
Maybe realistic. Is that a better word?
Realistic, yes.
I agree. I think it's possible that it happens. I don't think it's far-fetched whatsoever.
That's Joe Burrow being better than Josh Allen.
But that does mean that Burrow would have to hit that ceiling of like 26 points per game. He can do it. We've seen him do it. But that feels like kind of the wheelhouse, the middle of the pack.
It also could be Josh Allen being bad.
Right. If Allen is, but even a bad Josh Allen can still probably be at like 23, 24 points per game.
In 2022, like this, he played 9 games in 2022 with Chase and Higgins healthy, not leaving early with an injury. This is Joe Burrow. He was on pace for 28.5 points in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues, 23.5 and 4-point, 4,945 yards, 42 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, plus 223 rushing yards and 4 more touchdowns. And he was throwing 38 times per game. So that's a lot. But I mean, you're talking about he has been elite, you know.
And we're talking again, 6-point for passing touchdown, not 4.
Yeah. But even in 4-point, that seems really good. Okay. What are the chances that Dak Prescott is better than Lamar Jackson?
Oh, I think that could happen. I'm starting to get a little bit. No, the opposite. I don't think that there's a chance of that happening. I'm getting a little worried about Dak.
Yeah.
Yeah. The schedule analysis that I did isn't favorable. CeeDee Lamb's not in camp. Let's get him back in camp. Lamar, I think Lamar's going to be better than Dak.
Yeah, I didn't make the move. I dropped Dak behind Kyler, like I said I was.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, Dak Prescott. I think this is one of the guys that I said he absolutely crushed the NFC East last year, right? I mean, he just like 30 points per game or something like that against the NFC East. And I think the Giants maybe, but the other 2 teams should be better defensively than they were last year. Giants maybe not.
You got to assume that Dan Quinn knows him.
Dan Quinn definitely knows him. That's going to be at least one tough game for Dak this year.
All right, we're almost done with 2-round discount. I'll do a few wide receivers. What are the odds that Devontae Smith, what are the chances that Devontae Smith is better than A.J. Brown? I throw DK Metcalf in there. Devontae Smith or DK Metcalf better than A.J. Brown?
Slim to none.
Yeah. All right, next.
I agree. That would need, I think there would have to be an injury there.
What are the chances that Stephon Diggs or Tank Dell is better than Nico Collins?
I could see it for Tank.
And you can see it for both of them.
Yeah, I guess if Diggs has like 8.5 targets a game, all that stuff, and just becomes the lead target getter there, then sure. But I can't stop thinking about Tank Dell's synergy with Stroud last year.
I'll do one more here. What are the chances that Trey McBride or Dalton Kincaid is better than Travis Kelce?
Entirely possible.
I mean, he's 35 and could have his snaps limited. Last year was his lowest snap count since his rookie year. So,
yeah, if you're first time kids like he did in the second half of last year,
first time under 1,000 yards since 2017, fewest touchdowns since 2019. I mean, look, there's flaws that we've seen.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Draftathon's going very well. We're over $3,000. We want to thank you for that. Looks like my mock draft sold out in less than a day, so I'm very appreciative of that. We're going to do that on Tuesday night. Going forward, we're going to have live streams every Tuesday night. They're not going to be podcasts. They're just going to be live streams at youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday nights. So that's what we're doing, that mock draft, half PPR draft. We've already got 11 people who bought in, so I really appreciate that. That's awesome. That's a lot of money we just raised for St. Jude. We're going to have so many more of those types of drafts, so keep an eye on it, and we'll promote it more. We're running out of time for you to nominate us on Podcast Awards. Please, if you have 30 seconds, go to podcastawards.com, go to the nominating process, and nominate Fantasy Football Today in the sports category and the People's Choice category. We're going to take a break. We've got segment 3 coming up on our 8 segments of fantasy fun after this.
Football action continues. Are you ready for this? Ready to take chances? As the gridiron is taken over by the Great White North. It's time to storm the fortress. It's time to fight on the battlefield. Catch the Canadian Football League on CBS Sports Network.
Injuries, news, and notes. Nick Chubb is on the PUP list for the Browns. Javonte Williams lost weight. He was the number one running back, first team running back for the Broncos. So this is pretty big news. There are two guys who were kind of buried that got good news yesterday. Javonte Williams being one of them. Quentin Johnston for the Chargers being the other. Jim Harbaugh praised him, said he's got a bad rap. They still believe in him. Dave's shaking his head.
Yeah, not buying that one yet. Not really buying Javonte either, but I think I'm done with Broncos this year. I don't think I want any Broncos on my fantasy team, and I'm definitely not ready to have Quentin Johnston on my fantasy team.
Does this hurt? Like, we all thought Josh Palmer is one of the best values right now at 140th or so overall.
Still is.
Yeah, still taking him.
Okay. Najee Harris, this, maybe you guys can clarify this news item for me. Najee Harris said that the Steelers, they declined his fifth-year option, and they told him they didn't know which direction the offense was headed. Was that before? Do we know if that was before or after they hired Arthur Smith?
I believe it was after they hired Arthur.
Yeah, it sounded like Najee was trying to come up with an excuse, because I believe he said something to the effect of they didn't know the direction the offense was going. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. That checks. Cordell Patterson on the non-football injury list. Anybody who's on these lists early, they could come off anytime. Like, for example, Jaden Reed, he was on the NFI list. Now he's off that list. Gus Edwards had off-season surgery. He's there. He's reported to camp. He's playing, but they're going to maybe ease Gus Edwards in slowly. So on Hard Knocks, Brian Dable, the day of the draft, I believe. I mean, I feel like this probably information, maybe should have made the phone call a little bit earlier in the process, but he called Nick Saban and he asked Nick Saban who he faced that really gave him trouble. You know, like, who were the guys that really stood out when they faced Alabama? And he said the two guys who were problems, and I can't quote Dable because he curses every 5 words, very potty mouth Brian Dable. But the two guys who gave him problems were Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers. He said they were just, I don't remember. I think he said problems. Beasts. Yeah. So I just thought that was really interesting just to hear it from one of the best football minds, Nick Saban. Jalen Polk off to a good start for the Patriots. Jermaine Burton, if you heard what Jacob was saying yesterday about Jamar Chase getting more snaps in the slot because he's been so good in the slot, then you should be rooting for Jermaine Burton to get out there on the field and play for the Bengals. Isaac Garendo hurt his hamstring for the 49ers. Not a good setback. You don't want to see that for a rookie early in camp. And Xavier Worthy, another injury. He missed time in the OTAs. Now he has a hamstring injury. Seemed like the reports were very good for Worthy, good connection with Mahomes. But, is this something that we're keeping an eye on here that could really boost Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy's injury?
I think, honestly, the biggest thing, I made this move yesterday. It sounds like Rashee Rice may avoid a suspension this year. So, I mean, I put him back as the highest Chiefs receiver. And I didn't move Marquise Brown. But yeah, this is troubling for Worthy, and you talk about preseason performances. He had the biggest catch so far, at least the first big catch of the preseason when he had the big play from Mahomes when they opened camp. So 2 injuries now since they drafted him. That's not encouraging, so just something to keep an eye on there for those of you still may have rookie drafts coming up that may, sway you toward Brian Thomas or Keon Coleman or, the guys that are in that range if you're, undecided. But in any event, you'd like to see him stay healthy because he's a big part, I think, of what they do. But clearly, yes, it's a boost for the other 2 guys.
Okay. So, why did you say that Rashee Rice might avoid suspension?
Well, it sounds like, I think if I read correctly, his court date's not till December. So the NFL, unless they decide to, penalize him for, code of conduct, then he may not face any disciplinary action. Now, it could come at the end of the year, which would be, disappointing for anybody that drafts him with the hope of him being a contributor for the fantasy playoffs. But I don't ever want to draft that way. I always want to draft to see what, waiver wire is such a big thing. Get me off to a good start and play at the level you're capable of. And it seems as if he's still Patrick Mahomes' go-to guy in what the camp target tracking is, over the first couple of days. He's leaning on Rice quite a bit still, which makes sense.
Okay. Would you draft Rashee Rice or Malik Neighbors?
I actually put them back to back. I believe I put Rice one spot ahead of Neighbors, but they're right there.
Okay.
Neighbors for me.
Kendrick Bourne, Patriots wide receiver. He's on the PUP list. Tyler Higbee's on the PUP list. Higbee, Rams tight end. He has a knee injury. He's probably going to miss a decent amount of time. That's why Colby Parkinson could be an early season sleeper. Kadarius Toney being used out of the backfield. I feel like I keep skipping over this note here. Dave, does this mean anything for you? Kadarius Toney getting some running back snaps?
I wonder if that's being done to help him be an asset on kick returns, because we've talked about this. That play, the new kickoff play, it looks more like a running play than it does what kick returns used to be. So maybe that's what that is, on top of him getting maybe a couple of carries a game. Wouldn't be interested in drafting him unless it's like heavy points for kick return yardage, and then I'd take a late round flyer.
I think the interesting thing more so for that backfield is Deneric Prince was taking second string snaps behind Pacheco ahead of CEH.
Yeah.
So
Minnesota
that could just be, similar, that they're just trying to see what they have there. But clearly there's a role that's missing without McKinnon.
Minnesota cornerback Mekhi Blackman tore his ACL. Could have been sort of a rotational piece for them. T. Higgins acknowledged that he thought about prioritizing his health, because he's in a contract year. But at the end of the day, he's a guy who likes to work. It wasn't really a great quote to me if you are worried about Higgins sitting out if he's dinged up. But you don't really know how to speculate on that one. Giants offensive lineman Jermaine Illuminor left with an injury, and right tackle Evan Neal is on the PUP list. So that's both of their top two right tackle options currently hurt. And Kendry Miller, he left with a hamstring injury, and his head coach, Dennis Allen, Jamie was alluding to this, said he's got to figure out how to stay healthy, and it's hard to make the team when you're in the training room all the time. So Kendry Miller stock down right now. And Tua Tagovailoa, he wants a new deal. He's practicing, but sort of on a limited basis. We are done with 3 segments. Let's go to segment number 4.
Well, you saw there. I'm sure you talked about Ayuk yesterday. The Kamara Instagram post was great.
Did not see it. Not on the gram.
So he, some talk about him maybe being a holdout, and he just posted a picture of him and Marshawn Lynch.
That's cute.
Yes.
Eating Skittles.
No, but the assumption is I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, that's what he said, basically. He's like, he said, like, I don't want to get fined. All right, over-under. I came up with some over-unders here that are going to be a little bit higher probably than the Vegas over-unders because, it's easy to go under as soon as the guy gets hurt. It's like, obviously, he's going to go under a lot of the totals. So these are 17-game over-unders for me. Derrick Henry, 13.5 rushing touchdowns, over or under, and he has had 13 and 12 in his last 2 seasons. Derrick Henry, 13.5 rushing touchdowns.
Over.
I mean, if I was putting money on it, I'd put money on the under, but I don't think he'd be under by very much.
So I did Twitter polls for all of these. Under has 59% of the vote right now. So people are going under 13.5 touchdowns. Rushing touchdowns. Let's go to Travis Etienne. 12.5 total touchdowns for Travis Etienne. He had 11 rushing and 1 receiving last year. So we need to do a little bit better than that. Etienne, 12.5 total touchdowns. Over, under?
Under.
I'm under that again, and that's for fantasy bets, anything you want. I think that there will be another running back involved there to a degree, and might cost him 1 or 2 touchdowns.
He's going way under here with the Twitter people. 77% are saying Travis Etienne will go under 12.5 total touchdowns. It's just funny to think, like, why are we expecting fewer touchdowns than last year for Etienne?
Because I think he overachieved a little bit last year.
Then I don't know. I guess maybe I'm splitting hairs, but do you think he should be a 2nd-round pick, Etienne?
He still is because
I
he's
think,
got
again,
upside for lots of yardage and lots of catches.
Betting over-unders versus what you hope their fantasy production will be, I don't think they're necessarily mutually they're tied together.
No,
Yeah.
you're right. They're not.
All right, Garrett Wilson, 1,250 yards. He has been, in the 1,100 range in both of his seasons. So Garrett Wilson, 1,250 receiving yards. Over or under?
Over.
I would go over too.
It's a lot of yards, actually. 71% are agreeing with you guys on Twitter. 71% said over for Garrett Wilson, 1,250 yards. Each of the top 8 wide receivers last year had 1,243 or more yards. So let's say 1,250 is a top 8 kind of mark. I think Keenan Allen did that in like 12 games, by the way. Something crazy. But you can be top 10. Like Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs were wide receivers 9 and 10. They had less than 1,200. But each of the top 8 went over 1,240 yards. All right, this one should be fun. This is a double dip, an Eagles double dip. Jalen Hurts, 11.5 rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, 9.5 rushing touchdowns. Before you answer, Philadelphia has had 25, 32, and 22 rushing touchdowns in their last 3 seasons. So this would still be under those numbers. Jalen Hurts, 11.5. Saquon Barkley, 9.5 rushing touchdowns. What do you got?
Under on Hurts, over on Barkley.
I'm going to take the over on both. I think they both get a ton of touchdowns on the ground.
Very bullish. Okay, the leading vote-getting option here was that only Barkley goes over at 40%. The other 3 options, both over, both under, only Hurts goes over. They're all around 20% or so, but 40% for only Barkley goes over. And, that's probably people, I don't know, is that people thinking that the tush push that won't be as good without Kelsey? Or I don't know what that is.
I think they give some of those opportunities to Barkley.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
All right, over under for Marvin Harrison Jr., 7.5 receiving touchdowns. And his dad had 8 as a rookie. So thank you to Schaefer for that stat. Yeah. 7.5 receiving touchdowns for Marvin Harrison. Over or under?
Over.
I'll say 8, so over.
8 or 9. That feels about right.
Over as a slight edge, 55%, 54%. Do you guys think he gets to the 1,250 yard mark?
Yes.
In that range. Probably a little shy, but close to it.
I was surprised. DeAndre Hopkins, he played 35 games with the Cardinals. His 17-game pace was only 5.7 touchdowns. I thought it'd be more than that.
Different offense.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mean to say that Harrison can't, but I thought it would have been more for Hopkins.
What did Hopkins do in his full seasons there?
He had one year where he did not score a lot of touchdowns. Then I think he had one year where he kind of did. Let's see. 2020, he had 160 targets and only 6 touchdowns in 16 games. And then 2021, he had 8 touchdowns in 10 games. And then 2022, he had 3 touchdowns in 9 games.
I remember 2022 was a disaster.
All right. Hey, guys, you're doing great. That's 4 segments down, 27 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's go to segment number 5 of 8 segments of fantasy fun. It's fill in the blank. It's from our audience. Fill in the blank from Fish. If Rodgers does not get injured, the Jets will be blank.
Happy.
Competitive.
Legit Super Bowl contenders.
Sure.
Legit playoff contenders.
That'll be a wild card team.
I thought they were a legit Super Bowl contender last year. I don't know why. I think a lot of people did. I don't know why that would have changed.
He's 40 and coming off an Achilles injury.
That's the start.
Yeah, whatever.
Gotta hope. Listen, I know they made a lot of improvements to the offensive line. You've got to hope that gels. Got to hope the defense plays well another season. Got to hope that everybody that did okay to great last year does it again this year.
There's also the potential of they get off to a slow start and Robert Saleh's fired.
Yeah, whatever.
That may not hurt their Super Bowl chances if they put the right guy in place, but that's not usually a good formula.
They have a great schedule. They do have a great schedule after week 1. Tennessee, New England, Denver, Minnesota. Then they get Buffalo. It gets a little harder after that, a little bit, but they do have a pretty fast start after the Niners.
I like Mike Williams. I think that was a good addition for them. He's been a really good receiver last few years. I don't think he's going to start the season. I wouldn't be shocked if he started the season on the PUP list, whatever, but I hope he can give them something in the second half. All right. Mark Stewart says some draft and stash players are blank.
So you're not planning to use them or don't need to use them?
Right.
You just want to carry them on your bench and see what they're like after 4 weeks. So this is like where Josh Palmer would come into play.
Palmer, Shaheed, pick a Patriots guy.
Corum.
Jaleel McLaughlin. Kamani Vidal.
Yeah, Jameson Williams is probably off that list now.
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, I think it's possible. You think about it, I don't have their schedule, but
Elijah Mitchell.
If you draft Jameson Williams and Josh Palmer,
okay,
who are you going to start in week 1?
Of those two?
Yeah.
Chargers play Vegas in week 1.
I just feel like, Jameson almost feels like a draft and staff. I want to see what his role is, what he's going to be. Like, I feel more confident in Palmer getting 7 targets in week 1 than I do Williams.
I guess the question is, if you're drafting those guys to be starters, what happened to your first 10 rounds?
That's true. There's
Right. You're stashing them, hoping that they hit their upside. I think Jameson has more upside than Palmer.
Definitely.
As much as I like Palmer, I'm drafting Jameson ahead of Palmer. And I would have done that before.
I agree. But if I had to pick one for week 1, Jameson Williams could go back to being like just a downfield threat.
Palmer could also go 5 for 50 in week 1, and Jameson can go 2 for 80 and a touchdown. I'd rather start Jameson week 1.
Especially it's the Rams in week 1. Certainly could be a high scoring game. Then they get the Bucks and Cardinals after that. Could be a fast start for the Lions.
I don't know if Jameson Williams has more than 5 catches in any game of his career. His season high last year was 5 catches.
Yeah, but I mean, one catch for him could win you your week.
I get it, but in PPR, are you really going to go with a guy who you think could have 2 for 80?
I guess it depends. Like, did I draft a team in the middle of August and I got 2 starters that got hurt and I need to, like, why are you starting these guys?
No, you're not. It's just a hypothetical. But okay, Tim says, if Marvin Harrison finishes as a top 12 wide receiver and Kyler Murray finishes as a top 6 quarterback, then Trey McBride will be tight end blank.
3.
4 or 5.
And OJ Weber says Jalen Waddle is a top blank receiver in PPR.
11.
20.
I do love the difference that you guys have there. We started yesterday's show with Jalen Waddle, Jacob being very high on him, but I'm not sure if I gave the touchdown stat. I know I said it to Jacob off the air, but Waddle has just had a stunningly low amount of red zone, green zone, and end zone targets. And if I looked at, he did happen to score 8 touchdowns in 2022, but I looked at the last 2 years and all the players who caught 8 or more touchdowns, and they pretty much all get targeted more in the red zone, in the green zone, in the end zone than Jalen Waddle. So he's going to have those splash plays, or he's just going to have a different role. All right, we got 11 for Jamie and 20 for Dave for Jalen Waddle. And that is 5 segments. Way to go, guys. Let's take a break on Fantasy Football Today. And when we come back, I've got more music to play. We'll be right back on FFT.
You hear that? It's the steady pulse of the world's game that's turning fans into family and sports into passion. You hear that? It's the heartbeat of American soccer. The USL on CBS Sports Network.
Jamie, what do you think about this question here? Anyone else get the vibe that John Mara hates Joe Shane? That would be the Giants owner and the Giants GM. I'm not getting that vibe, are you?
I guess I'd like to see Mara's interactions with everybody else because he feels like that he's that kind of guy, like just a little curmudgeon-y.
I don't know. I feel like he is just like, I trust my front office. If you guys believe in going up to trade for Drake May, then you go trade up for Drake May. He's not like, don't do it. Because it felt like he didn't want them to. But he was like, if you want to do it, if you believe in him, then do it.
I guess I think it'd be a different conversation if it was Caleb or Jaden as opposed to Drake May.
Yeah.
Because there was so many questions with them.
Hey, listen, man, I got to say, Brian Dable, you got to sit up when you're interviewing people. Did you see that?
It's so bad.
Right? I mean, he's got Malik Neighbors in his office and Marvin Harris and Roma Dunze, I think. And he is slouched on his couch with his feet on the table. He's so short that he's basically lying down. Yeah. Very unprofessional.
I've had some conversations with people about it, and Giants fans included. And one comment was, "Oh no, he just wants to be, he wants them to feel relaxed."
Maybe
that's a job interview. Like, no.
It'd be so weird if you went to a job interview and the guy who's about to be your boss is just like laying down. That was really weird. Okay, anyway.
I did hear a story about a GM that interviewed somebody with their shoes off and feet on the desk.
That's just weird, man. That's just weird. All right, here we go. It's time for the Fantasy Cops, segment 6 of 8. What is that? 8 segments of Fantasy Fun. I forgot the name of the show. All right, this is from Thomas from Fountain, Colorado. It doesn't sound like a real place, Dave. Is that a real place?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Dear Randy, Chris, Jake, and Adam.
Vikings.
Yeah. Every year, our league does a punishment for last place. The person who finished last asked for a different punishment, and begrudgingly, we obliged. He had 30 days to complete the IHOP 24-hour challenge. It has been 30 days, so I sent in the group chat, your butt better be in an IHOP right now. He responded with, I just saw this message, I'll do it. Well, the time is up in my mind and on the board members' mind of our league. We have kicked people out of the league before for not doing the punishment and feel this is warranted since he backed out of the initial punishment, and now he's late on this second punishment. What is the verdict here? Also, Adam, bunting in softball is a weird move, but I understand your reasoning. Don't let those guys get to you. Was not a bunt. It was a swing. But what are you kicking this guy out for not doing the second punishment in 30 days?
Definitely 100% yes. First of all, I want to know what the first punishment was that forced them to change it to this punishment. And the 24-hour IHOP challenge, it's annoying, but do it, man. Like, have some respect for yourself. You're in the league. You finish in last. You got to go and serve the punishment. And if he ever wants back in the league, 48-hour IHOP challenge.
If he says he's going to do it after the reminder, then he's got 24 hours to get it done.
Yeah.
But he's clearly not doing it. This dude's being a baby. I think he's not going to do it. Oh, I don't like the first punishment. Give me something else. And then they give him something else. I'll do it. All right, it's time.
I heard a fun one of one of our colleagues. I won't mention his name. That he finished last, and his league mates made him dress up as Lord Farquaad from Shrek, and threw tomatoes at him as he had to run through like some sort of passageway between them.
I don't know. Oh, that's Lord Farquaad. Oh yeah, that's a that's a pretty funny costume. What is the 24-hour? How many pancakes do you have to eat? 24.
I think it's like for every pancake you knock off 1 hour. So I'd be out of there in 1 hour. So most people would probably be stuck in there for close to 24 hours.
The Waffle House one's tougher because waffles are just
waffles much thicker.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. IHOP pancake is probably pretty fluffy.
Yeah, but waffles
compared to a waffle, Adam?
I don't think so. I think waffles, they've got like.
All right, we're gonna do it one of our leagues this year.
Well, I think I'm happy to. I'll get a waffle and I'll get a pancake. I'll eat them on the air and I'll see which one is harder to eat. I guess. You accept that? You accept those terms?
No, I think we do the last place.
I think there's. Size pending. There should be more batter used in a waffle than in a pancake.
You actually have to get that's something you're gonna make yourself.
I'm proud to. No, I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna go buy it. I'm proud to say, I pretty much never finish in last place. Like that is just not. I just don't finish in last place.
Oh boy,
I don't. I mean, well, a lot of people.
If there was ever a call to the fantasy gods,
if they're ever, what was it? Quoting Dave, I don't give up on leagues. A lot of people give up. I don't give up.
All right.
Well, now there's going to be a reason not to give up.
You've got your marching orders. You've got to build a league that's got this last place finish, and Adam has to be in the league.
I don't have to build a league. I'm just going to do it one of our analysts.
All right, make sure Adam's in it.
He is in it.
I'm not going to finish this. I never finish it. I'm not going to do that. All right. That's the Fantasy Cops. Thank you, Thomas. Much appreciated. It's time for segment number 7.
That Fantasy Cops was one question in a full segment?
Yeah, it's a segment.
Love this show.
Yeah, it's great, right? Segment number 7 is fantasy combos. Which combos would you rather have? Just a reminder, not a good snack. Not a good snack. Kind of gross. Christian Kirk and Sam. I'm talking about combos. Christian Kirk and Sam Laporta, or Brandon Ayuk and Trey McBride.
I hope combos never becomes a sponsor of the show. Like,
do they exist still?
Might have. I will take Ayuk and McBride.
I'll take Kirk and Laporta.
Okay, Kirk and Laporta, Ayuk and McBride. So this is all based on ADP, where Kirk and McBride are going around the same range, and Laporta and Ayuk. So it's when do you take your wide receiver, when do you take your tight end? Jamie says he'd rather have Kirk and Laporta. Dave says Ayuk and McBride. Okay, Dave, give me a reason.
It's just more upside for those two. Ayuk was great last year on hyper efficiency. I expect more of the same this year, and maybe even a little bit more target volume in San Francisco. Obviously, that'll change if he doesn't do any practicing, doesn't do anything, continues to be a pain in the butt with this contract. But I still, as much as like I've argued against McBride, it's the argument against taking him with like a top 40 pick. I still like him. I still think he's going to get a lot of targets. I think he's going to be fine. In a PPR league, I'd rather have McBride and give up the upside of Laporta and still have a really good tight end and have a receiver that's just got sky high, top 12 upside. Ayuk has. I don't think Christian Kirk does.
Do you agree with this? If Jameson Williams has a breakout fantasy relevant season, even if he's like wide receiver 30 or something, it's more likely to affect Laporta than St. Brown.
It's going to affect both of them.
It's going to affect both. I think it would affect Laporta a little bit more, but they would both lose something.
I don't know. I mean, if Amon-Ra St. Brown is a truly elite wide receiver, I don't know if it would affect him. You know, those guys get theirs. It might just mean like a career season for Jared Goff. You know, it could be that.
Could.
Okay. Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, former teammates.
Maybe I'll take the other.
I actually went old versus young here. Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, or Nico Collins and DeAndre Swift.
I have both the younger guys ranked ahead of the older guys to begin with, so easy for me.
I don't really love either running back, and I think I have Devontae a little bit ahead of Nico. Can I do the IHOP challenge instead? I'm just looking for a way to eat some pancakes here. Give me Adams and Jones.
Yeah, Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones versus Nico Collins and DeAndre Swift. Okay, so split there as well. How about? Oh no, I didn't get a second wide receiver for this one. Wow. I left one
Yeah.
blank.
So in the notes it says CJ Stroud and DJ Moore, or Patrick Mahomes and.
CJ Stroud
adventure.
Give me a wide receiver. CJ Stroud and DJ Moore, or Patrick Mahomes and
Tyreek Hill. I'll take Mahomes and Hill.
Man, you guys are risk takers. So it'd have to be a wide receiver going around CJ Stroud, which would probably, let's say that is probably in the Christian Kirk range, but I don't want to use him again.
You want to say Neighbors?
Yeah. Let's say Mahomes and Neighbors, or Stroud and DJ Moore.
Mahomes and Neighbors.
That is the upside play. I really do like. Yeah, I'm going to agree. I'm going to say Mahomes and Neighbors.
Did you see who's been spending time with Caleb Williams?
DJ Moore?
Keenan Allen.
Aren't they all spending time with him?
No, but there's a story about them spending extra time together.
Oh,
you know why? Because they were late to connect after the draft, and it showed in minicamp. But I totally expect it to be worked out by the time training camp's over.
Okay, last combo here.
DJ Moore's going to be the lead guy there.
Oh, he is, but he's going to be worse than he was last year, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, everyone's drafting
catches, but not by a lot.
Even Davis
gets over 80 catches. 80 and a half catches, over under for DJ Moore.
Under.
Yeah, I'm going to go under.
I'll take the over. Loser
All
has
right,
to many pancakes.
Grilled chicken and ice cream.
Together?
Grilled chicken for dinner and ice cream for dessert.
Oh, good.
Or pizza for dinner and Italian ices for dessert.
Pizza.
How's the chicken prepared? Grilled, you said?
Honestly, yeah, you can do whatever you want with the grilled chicken. Yeah. But obviously you're getting a dinner downgrade and a dessert upgrade here. So grilled chicken and ice cream, or pizza and Italian ices.
Is it any pizza or this matters. Where's the pizza from?
Wherever you want, buddy.
Okay, I'm definitely 100% pizza in the Italian ices. And I'll probably take the Italian ice and throw it right in the trash.
I'm going to go chicken and ice cream.
Dave, have you been to, I want to say, I've been going there since I was in elementary school or middle school. So this is like 30 years now. And I don't know the name. It's either Cecile's or Cecily's. It's an Italian ice place on Sample Road. Have you been there?
Have never heard of it.
Yeah, it's the best Italian ice place.
You can't name it.
Cecily's, I don't know. It's amazing Italian ices. They have my favorite is the banana cream pie. They have a banana cream pie Italian ice.
Oh,
really good.
Do you go have you gone when you've been home?
Yeah, I go every time, pretty much. It's like 5 minutes from my house, where my parents live. So I recommend that if you want to change your mind about Italian ice.
By the way, So Adam and I went to lunch when he was now. There's a tank in Adam's neighborhood.
Oh yeah, there's a house that has like 6 like Hummers, basically.
It's
It's like they're preparing for the apocalypse. It's really like I don't get it.
it's the first house you see when you drive in there. I was like, what's going on?
I know.
Adam lives in a war zone.
It's weird. Cool cars though. All right, segment number 8 is a brand new segment called Emails at fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. We're going to end our show with some emails, fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. We also have a mailbag show tomorrow where we will be reading your emails, but also your questions from our Draftathon Tiltify page.
Come on, let's go. Let's get it in under 50 minutes, big boy.
All right, here we go. This is from a blind guy in New Hampshire. That's what he called himself. No, he said, blind guy from New Hampshire, me. I haven't missed any of your shows in the better part of 10 years. I'm a year-round listener.
Nice.
I was fortunate to get the number 1 pick. Can you help talk me out of why I want to take Breece Hall, number 1, over Christian McCaffrey? Or possibly CeeDee Lamb if I want to go that route. Worried about the 400 touches, all that stuff. You guys are awesome. Dan makes me laugh too, LOL.
I mean,
Well,
look,
go ahead.
28 years
Jimmy.
old.
We're going to say the same thing.
28 years old, 400 total touches. I mean, my God, can you imagine if Trent Williams doesn't show up? Like right now, he's holding out. There's pitfalls there for McCaffrey. So if you're concerned, first off, I try to trade it because there are a lot of people that would like McCaffrey. So if you can make a deal, maybe move down a spot or two, get another draft pick. Or get another higher draft pick later in the draft. That's something to explore. But I think if you're concerned, I would probably pivot to Lamb personally. But if you want to go with Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson, they're all going to be special talents. I know for me, for my tiers, I put them all in the same tier for a reason. They're all going to be elite caliber running backs. So personally, if I'm not taking McCaffrey, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb, assuming he shows up and is ready to go soon. But I first thing I would try to do is trade up.
The game's about getting as many points as possible, not worrying about players getting hurt. That's what I learned when I was poo-pooing Christian McCaffrey 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
I want to try and win the league. I want to get as many points as possible. I don't want to try and dodge an injury. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be awesome and still head and shoulders above pretty much everybody that's not a quarterback. So he would still be the pick. I'm using my brain, not my heart. And if it's 3 weeks from now and CeeDee Lamb still isn't in camp for Dallas, oh, dude, I don't know if I would take him in round 1, much less 101, because of the track record of players who miss camp and show up, and then there's an injury, and then it's a mess. But I'll add this as a caveat. It's your team. And if you really have a feeling about somebody, usually it's easier to follow the feeling when it's round 4 or round 6. But if you've got a feeling about Breece Hall and you think that he's going to be awesome, then take him. Try and trade the pick. Jamie's advice was great. But if you can't trade it, take your guy. Take who you love. It's your team.
This is from Daniel in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Dear Frank, Ed, Al, and Nordberg.
Naked Gun.
Okay. What did you say?
They're bringing that back, right?
No, they're bringing back Spaceballs.
I know they're bringing back Spaceballs. I'm looking forward to that. I thought I heard that Liam Neeson, maybe it was a scam, but Liam Neeson was going to play in the Naked Gun.
Oh, you know what? That sounds kind of familiar. All right, let's get to the question, though. That'd be pretty cool. What are everyone's thoughts about running back handcuffs when there's an obvious solid backup? And then what about taking both Pollard and Spears or both Zach Moss and Chase Brown?
That's another one I don't know if you guys talked about yesterday, what Zach Taylor said in regards to his backfield. It almost made it sound like Zach Moss was the backup as opposed to Chase Brown. I think he was just kind of including him in the answer. He was asked specifically about Chase Brown. I mean, go back to the McCaffrey question. That's an easy one to handcuff because Elijah Mitchell's free, so you don't have to reach for him. And especially with the Garendo news, if he's dealing with a hamstring injury and that further sets him back to compete for the number 2 job, then you have clearly a special player there in Mitchell. He's not going to be McCaffrey, but he'll get you by. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like every time in his career, he's gotten 10 plus targets. He's basically 14 PPR points or more. So he'll give you some replacement value, just not Christian McCaffrey replacement value. But yeah, it's easy to take these backfields, and I think it was Ben Gretsch, right? The ambiguous backfield phrase, that you can get both these guys, see what happens. You don't necessarily want to commit yourself with a, round 6, 7, 7, 8, depending on how you want to, necessarily build your team to 2 players in the same backfield. But like Pete Prisco right now is in Tennessee, and it's the same exact thing that they've said. Callahan told him they're both going to compete. They're both going to get opportunities. We don't have a guy that's a starter. They're 1 and 1A. So it's the same thing we've heard throughout the course of the offseason. So yeah, it's not bad to go that route. So like if you go hero RB, for example, and then it comes down to who's your 2 or 2 and 3, take both Bengals, take both Titans, and then get a fourth guy that, hopefully we can give you some production to a certain degree as well if that doesn't work out. But you should get a second running back for sure.
Okay, Dave, we'll go to our next question here. By the way, Daniel says, love the show. You all have a way you all have a way about you that makes your listeners feel like we're your friends. Thank you.
Shut up.
Yeah. Thanks. Stupid comment. No, I appreciate that. That's what we're going for. This one is from Todd. And my question for you, Todd, is why is the carpet all wet, Todd? He says, who are the late round players most likely to make a splash early, which can then be used as trade capital to acquire better players, Dave Richard?
Oh, wow. It's a question everybody wants the correct answers to. Late round players that are going to make a splash early. And then you want to trade these guys?
Ezekiel Elliott or Rico Dowdle.
Right. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm
looking for late rounders who I want to keep if they make a splash early.
Yeah, but there's also, the potential injury replacement kind of guys. So
like Gus was one of the first names on the tip of my tongue.
Jerome Ford. Somebody just posted that. That's a good one.
It's a good one, but I don't think anybody's going to give you anything for Ford if it looks like
you trade him 2 weeks or 3 weeks before Chubb comes back if he's on the pup list. So you get him cheap. He does something good in week 1 or week 2, and then you flip him right away.
And the schedule is actually conducive for that. Wouldn't Jameson Williams qualify for this?
I don't know. If he gets off to a good start, I think you're going to want to keep him.
But that's the gamble you have to take. You have to understand that there's potential flops here. So I could see a situation where either Christian Kirk or Evan Ingram, and you want to trade them with the potential of Brian Thomas, becoming a thing at the end of the season.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up here.
Oh, here's a good one. Either the 2 Bills receivers.
How about almost any Packers receiver?
Okay. All right, last one. Skylar Mojica from whatever town in Vermont Dave chooses.
I don't have one right now. Sorry.
Yep. All right, Skylar, you have to move. 12-team full PPR league, 3 receivers. Would you keep Rashad White in round 5, Zay Flowers in round 7, or Trey McBride in round 10?
Oh, Brattleboro.
Yes, exactly.
Of course, Brattleboro.
What size team?
White, what's that?
What size of the team?
12-team league, 3 receivers PPR. Rashad White in round 5, Zay Flowers round 7, Trey McBride round 10.
McBride.
Hard to pass on McBride.
Yeah, McBride for me as well. 8 segments of fantasy fun in the books. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. If you want more, check us out on FFT Express, Fantasy Football Today Express. Used to be FFT and 5. Now it's Express. And have a wonderful day, everybody. We'll talk to you with our mailbag tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.